I'm Mary Burrell, a hospice survivor turned patient advocate with a story of resilience and second chances. This podcast is a space for authentic conversations about survival, hope, and rebuilding. Whether you're on a health journey, caregiving, or seeking inspiration, together we turn struggles into strengths. This podcast dives into real stories of survival and resilience, exploring life after hospice, health challenges, and caregiving. It's about using storytelling to connect, inspire, and advocate for tricuspid valve and women's heart health. Through solo episodes and interviews, it creates a supportive space for shared journeys and diverse perspectives. Our podcast is for women aged 20 to over 65, caregivers, hospice survivors, and patient advocates navigating heart valve challenges, caregiving, and resilience. It also appeals to health conscious individuals and medical professionals interested in patient stories, advocacy, and groundbreaking treatments like Evoke. Heart health is a critical issue for women, yet risks like tricuspid valve regurgitation disease often go unnoticed. This podcast fills a gap by raising awareness, sharing authentic patient stories, and advocating for women's heart health. With most podcast listeners seeking relatable content, it's the perfect platform to educate, inspire, and connect with women navigating health challenges and caregiving. Hope starts here. Four voices, one mission. Launches with stories of survival, advocacy, and second chances, proving that hope shines even in the darkest times. Future 30-minute episodes will explore life after hospice, caregiving, clinical trials, medical innovation, and patient advocacy, blending heartfelt stories, interviews, and actionable insights to inspire and connect. This podcast brings personal, candid stories to the forefront, spotlighting tricuspid valve regurgitation awareness and life after hospice, topics rarely addressed in mainstream media. As a survivor and a caregiver, I offer a unique, relatable perspective. Through actionable insights, advocacy, collaborations, and listener stories, it fosters community, connections, and hope. I'm seeking sponsors, partners, and advocacy groups to join me in spreading awareness about heart valve health for women, caregiving, and patient advocacy. Opportunities include sponsorship, guest appearances, and co branded campaigns to create real impact. To support the podcast, I'll incorporate sponsored content, ads, and listener contributions via platforms like Patreon, with plans for community focused merchandise in the future. This podcast is about creating a supportive space where listeners can share stories, ask questions, and connect through discussions with guest experts and building community that lifts each other up. Hope starts here. Four voices, one mission. Follow the podcast on YouTube and share it with anyone who could use a little hope and inspiration in their life. Let's start building a community together. You can email me at advocate@maryburrell.com. My website is www.maryburrell.com. And social media, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as Second Chances as Mrs. Avocado. Hope isn't just something we wait for, it's something we create. Tune into the pilot episode and hear how four voices came together with one mission to inspire, connect, show that even in the hardest times, hope is always within reach. You've just stepped into a space where real conversations about heart valve health, resilience, and advocacy comes to life. This is Heart to Heart Talk with Mary Burrell, where we speak from the heart for the heart. I'm Mary Burrell, hospice survivor, patient advocate, and heart valve warrior on a mission to amplify voices, share untold stories, and empower you to take control of your heart health. Because when it comes to your heart, knowledge isn't just power, it's survival. So grab a seat, open your heart, and let's dive in. Because every heartbeat has a story, and it's time to tell yours. Welcome back to Heart Talk with Mary Burrell.
Powered by
Today we're
Riverside FM.
exploring the space between hope and the miracle. The moments that test everything you've got and the quiet strength it takes to keep going when the odds are stacked against you. This part of my journey takes us back to 2021 when I was standing at the edge, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. After years of fighting just to breathe, I was finally accepted into the TriSend 2 clinical trial. I didn't know at the time, but that moment would mark the beginning of my transformation from barely hanging on to finally breaking through. January 8th, 2021, I was admitted into OHSU, standing at the edge of hope and the unknown. 3 days later, on January 11th, I underwent a groundbreaking procedure that would change everything. Evo tricuspid valve number 127-023 became a part of me, a part of my survival story. After 833 days of fighting for my life, of pushing through every setback, every moment where the odds said no, I won this battle. January 15th, just 5 days later, I was discharged. My daughter drove me the 4.5 hours home, a ride that felt surreal. I made it. But what people don't talk about enough is what happens after the fight. My body had been in survival mode for so long, fighting, compensating, adjusting just to stay alive, that when it no longer had to, it didn't quite know what to do. It took a minute for everything to reset. Once I was home, recovery became a whole new battle. My body had endured so much for so long, and now I had to learn how to function with this new valve. The daily lab draws were brutal. My veins were fragile, worn out from years of IVs, blood thinners, medical interventions. Every morning, another needle, another vial of blood, another reminder that healing wasn't instant, nor was it linear. Some days I felt stronger. Other days it was like my body was still questioning if it was safe to let go of survival mode. It was a roller coaster. ER trips, medication adjustments, good days followed by bad days, then back to good. But then, by mid-September of 2021, something shifted. My dry weight dropped. My energy increased. For the first time in years, I felt my body trying to come back to life, like a system rebooting after a crash. The rest of 2021 was a slow but steady transformation. Medications were tweaked, some were even removed. I started moving again. Yoga, resistance bands, the treadmill when my body allowed it. Each step, each breath was proof that I was still here. I wasn't just surviving, I was resetting. 2022 crept in, and suddenly I found myself doing things I never thought possible again. Walking on the treadmill wasn't just a slow-paced shuffle anymore. I was hitting 2 miles a day, 5 or more times a week. Not only that, I was pushing myself. Incline cranked up to 5, speed hitting 3.5 miles an hour. Then one day I did something I hadn't done in years. I jogged 30 whole seconds. It might not sound like much, but to me it was everything. I started to feel stronger. Resistance bands became part of my routine, pushing my muscles to remember how to work again. Yoga filled in the gaps on opposite days, keeping me grounded and flexible. Stretching? Non-negotiable. I stretched multiple times a day, keeping my body from locking up, reminding it that we're still moving forward. And the labs? Those daily painful draws that once dictated my mornings, no more. Now they're drawn just once a month. Not stat, not urgent, just routine, just normal. Then the biggest shocker, I wasn't suffocating under low barometric pressure anymore. For years, whenever the pressure dropped, it felt like invisible weight pressing down on my chest, stealing my breath, making every inhale a struggle. But now the pressure was heavy today, and I was still breathing easy, not gasping, not wheezing, no panic. This wasn't just recovery anymore. This was thriving. May 2023 rolls around, and out of nowhere, an unexpected adventure begins. I get a text from a representative at Edwards Life Sciences, the company that created the tricuspid valve that's literally keeping me alive. They want to film a mini documentary about me, about my journey, about how this valve has changed my life. And they're not talking about someday. They want to do it as soon as possible. Like, we're thinking June 2nd through the 5th, ASAP. My head is spinning. This is really happening. Excitement, nerves, gratitude, all of it. When filming starts, I realize this isn't just about me. It's about us. My family, my loved ones. They lived through this with me. They watched me suffer. They carried me through the worst days. This wasn't just my story. It was our story. For 3 days, we opened our hearts, our home, and our experiences. The cameras captured the rawness, the reality, not just the medical journey, but the emotional one. And something unexpected happened. It was therapy. 3 days with the film crew did more for my heart, my mind, and my family than a year in therapy ever could. We talked about things we hadn't fully processed. We had acknowledged the weight of what we'd been through. We felt heard. It was healing in a way I didn't even realize I needed. The final product, a 5-minute glimpse into my life before and after Evoke. Before and after hope became reality. Watching it for the first time was overwhelming, humbling, and empowering. Then I got the news. My story had a huge impact at Edwards. My journey, my survival, my voice, it mattered, it resonated, and it changed something. And that is why I share my story, so others don't have to suffer as long. Or maybe, if they're lucky, they won't have to suffer at all. July 2023, my phone rings. Again, it's Edwards Life Sciences calling. Apparently, my story didn't just make an impact, it resonated. Their chief scientific officer, Dr. Todd Britton, personally invited me to attend their technology gala in September. Me, a former hospice patient turned survivor, now being asked to help recognize top technology leaders at one of the most influential medical companies in the world. I was honored, overwhelmed, and excited, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to learn. Before the gala, we sat down for lunch with the medical engineers who designed and created the Evoke valve, the very valve keeping me alive. I knew they had developed an incredible technology, but what I didn't know, they had fought for me. While I was literally fighting to stay alive, unaware if I'd ever qualify for this study, they were working day and night, weekends included, trying to find a way to make it happen. I had no idea that my unique anatomy had presented a major challenge. My heart, shaped like an avocado, made sizing the valve difficult. They were relentless. They tested, they retested, they refused to give up. And finally, they cracked it. They figured out a way to size the valve so I could be included in the trial. That decision, that determination gave me my second chance. Hearing this for the first time, my mind was blown. I sat there in awe, trying to process the fact that these brilliant minds had spent countless hours problem solving for me. And then they told me something else, something that made me laugh and cry at the same time. They had a nickname for me, Mrs. Avocado, because my heart, well, the shape of an avocado. They even gave me a little avocado change purse and a keychain as a gift. It was such a small gesture, but meant everything to me. It wasn't just about the nickname, it was about the connection. These weren't just engineers designing something in a lab. They truly cared about the people they were helping. They cared about me. Then came the moment that truly shook me. Because of my bravery, my refusal to stop fighting, they are now developing even larger valves, ensuring that future patients won't have to suffer through long, agonizing waiting periods. My story, my survival, had a direct impact on their innovation. Sid, the creator of Evoke, said that valve number 127023 was the tricuspid miracle. Whew. The evening of the gala was unforgettable. It was structured as a Q&A roundtable with Dr. Britton, Dr. Czar, my husband, my daughter, and myself. An opportunity for Edwards to ask us questions, listen, and truly learn how they could continue to help more people like me. It was powerful, emotional, transformative. People waited in lines to talk to me. Engineers, scientists, executives, people who had spent years behind the scenes developing life-saving technology, stood in front of me, sharing their thoughts, their feelings, and their stories. Some told me how much my courage inspired them. Others shared their personal battles, moments of suffering, moments of hope. Then something incredible happened. A young woman stood in line with her father, one of the engineers who worked on my valve. And when she reached me, she held out a piece of paper. It was a sketch of me drawn as I spoke on stage. I looked at her speechless. She had listened to my story, felt something deep inside, and captured that moment in art. The fact that her father had played a role in my survival made it even more profound. It was a gift beyond words. That night changed me forever. The entire evening was filled with moments like this. People of all walks of life telling me how much my fight, my survival, and my willingness to share my truth meant to them. And all I could think of was, I was being selfish. I just wanted to live longer for my family. I wanted more memories with my husband, my children, my loved ones. I was just trying to be brave. I was trying to survive. But that's the thing. One cannot go through what I went through without changing. And that night, I left even more changed, more determined, and more grateful. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Heart to Heart Talk with Mary Burrell, where we speak from the heart for the heart. If today's conversation sparked something in you, a question, a revelation, or maybe even the courage to take the next step in your own heart health journey, don't keep it to yourself. Talk about it. Share your story. Start the conversation. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave a review to help more people find these conversations and pass this episode along to someone who may need it. And if you're all ready to dive in deeper, join the conversation. Connect with me on social media or visit www.maryburrell.com for more resources, support, and ways to take action. because when we speak up, we spark change, and the world needs to hear our voices. And remember, your heartbeat is more than just a rhythm, it's a message. What is yours saying?